This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has extended his congratulations to the Algerian people on the occasion of the new Amazigh year 2975. Algeria has called for the holding of consultations at the UN Security Council on January 17 to discuss the dangerous situation facing UNRWA in the occupied Palestinian territories. And as the humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate, the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, has affirmed that the agency is the custodian of the Palestinian refugees' identity and history. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has extended his congratulations to the Algerian people on the occasion of the new Amazigh year 2975, wishing health and wellness to all Algerians inside and outside the country within the proud Algeria. In a message on his official account on social media, the President of the Republic wished the Algerian people many happy returns, praying the Almighty that the glory of proud Algeria will last. The kickoff of the festivities celebrating the Amazigh New Year, or Yenayer 2975, was given in the southern province of Timimoun under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune. Organized by the High Commission for Tamazight, HCA, the cultural event, which takes place from January 10 to 12, is held under the slogan Yenayer, the authenticity of triumphant Algeria, woven by the Qsur of Gurara. The opening ceremony was chaired by the Secretary General of the HCA, Siel Hashmi Assad, in the presence of several personalities, including the advisor to the President of the Republic, Hamid Lounouassi, presidents of national organizations, and representatives of the two chambers of Parliament. The festivities were marked by the inauguration of signs in Arabic and Tamazight at the airport and at the main entrance of Timimoun, as well as a tree planting campaign on the outskirts of the city, in addition to several other activities, including a large parade in the city center, workshops on the preservation of Tamazight heritage, and a study day devoted to the national reference of Algerian identity. Algeria has called for the holding of consultations at the UN Security Council on January 17 to discuss the dangerous situation facing the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, in the occupied Palestinian territories. Algeria also requested UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini to brief the members of the Council on the alarming situation in the Gaza Strip, turned by the Israeli occupation into a graveyard for tens of thousands of Palestinians by destroying basic infrastructure. Radio Algeria International spoke to Professor of International Relations Moulay Boumdjoul, who had the following.
Algeria is fully aware of the size of the conspiracy, and this is why it has called for this very important meeting. In this particular circumstance, seeking to protect the rights of the Palestinian refugees and preserve this organization in charge of protecting the rights of Palestinian refugees. Algeria knows that one of the main pillars in the settlement of the Palestinian issue is the settlement of the refugees question, which can't be done without the UNRWA. Algeria wants that the UNRWA Commissioner reveals the serious facts and the catastrophic situation to the members of the United Nations so that they take stock of the serious violations of law committed by the Zionist entity, and we are speaking here about a genuine, tangible evidence, a UN organization that exists in the field and which relays all the facts.
Professor Moulay Boumdjoul emphasized on the occasion the importance of Algeria's diplomatic and legal support for the Palestinian resistance, which will give it more strength in defending the Palestinian people against the barbaric occupation. Let's listen to him again.
The
diplomatic and legal support provided by Algeria will have a positive impact on the Palestinian resistance on the ground, because the resistance needs this legal support and diplomatic support, which will give it more strength in defending the Palestinian people against the barbaric occupation, as it is a legitimate resistance, and that's what Algeria is proving through its legal and diplomatic support.
It is worth recalling that UNRWA is a humanitarian and development agency established by the United Nations General Assembly in 1949 to support, protect, and defend the approximately 5.6 million registered Palestinian refugees in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, the occupied West Bank, and the Gaza Strip until their suffering ends. The Secretary General, or the Secretary of State to the Foreign Ministry in charge of the national community abroad and Special Envoy of the President of the Republic, Mr. Sofiane Chayeb in Jamina, has handed in a letter from the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to the President of Chad, Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno. During the meeting, the Secretary of State conveyed the greetings of the President of the Republic to his Chadian counterpart and expressed his willingness to work together to strengthen the relations of cooperation between the two countries. Let's listen to him.
Without going into the details of this missive, its content was devoted to bilateral relations between Algeria and Chad. They are old relations marked by brotherliness, solidarity, and cooperation. I think my presence here today in the aftermath of events experienced by the Chadian capital testifies to Algeria's attachment to these relations. The meeting allowed for a rich and fruitful exchange on the ways and means of strengthening cooperation relations between our two countries in different fields of common interest.
The Chadian president, for his part, expressed his willingness to continue working towards consolidating the brotherly relations, cooperation, and solidarity between the two countries. During the meeting, the two men examined ways of strengthening bilateral relations and coordination at the regional and international levels. And the Minister of Finance, Aziz Faid, is taking part in Medina, Saudi Arabia, in his capacity as chairman of the Board of Governors of the Islamic Development Bank Group in a consultation seminar on the future strategic framework of this institution. Mariam Bershi has more details.
The meeting held as part of the annual strategic cycle of the Islamic Development Bank, IDB, aims to examine the outlines of the new strategic planning process for the period 2026 to 2035 to shape the next decade and meet the current and future aspirations of the member countries of the institution. The seminar is a platform for high-level consultations and the exchange of views, ideas and suggestions, thereby enriching the process of shaping the future of the Islamic Development Bank. On the occasion, and in his capacity as chairman of the Board of Governors of the IDB, Mr. Faid is leading the proceedings of the seminar, where he also presents Algeria's point of view and position on the approach that the IDB should adopt over the next 10 years to best meet the expectations of the countries in the region, to boost their socio-economic development, encourage the diversification of their economies, strengthen their resilience in the face of multiple external challenges, and consolidate their integration for sustainable and shared growth. On the sideline of the seminar, the Minister will sign jointly with the President of the IDB Group the Memorandum of Understanding relating to Algeria's hosting of the 2025 edition of the Group's annual meetings, which will be held in Algiers from May 19th to May 22nd. He will take the opportunity to officially extend an invitation to the 56 governors representing the IDB Group member countries to take part in these meetings.
And the 11th edition of the International Food Industry Exhibition, SIAG, will be held from January 14 to 16 in Oran. The exhibition, which is organized by First Event, is expected to attract around 4,500 visitors. It will offer professional networking and experience sharing spaces, cooking, workshops hosted by well-known chefs, as well as workshops and conferences highlighting the major trends of this sector. As the humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate, the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, has affirmed that the agency is the custodian of the Palestinian refugees' identity and history. In a communique released on social networks, he stated that thanks to the faithful teams of UNRWA, thousands of archives of Gaza Strip and the West Bank had been safeguarded and digitalized. The head of UNRWA stressed that safeguarding a long 75 years of such archives was vital for the protection of the rights of Palestinian refugees. He said that it was high time to find a peaceful and diplomatic solution to the conflict, notably by addressing once and for all the situation of the refugees in Palestine. In this connection, the Commissioner General of UNRWA warned against Israel's plan to ban the UN agency, saying that such decision will have a disastrous impact on all those who are supported by UNRWA, notably in Gaza. In the meantime, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, affirmed that the Israeli occupying authorities continue to undermine the funneling of aid considered vital for those in need in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. In a report carried by the news agency WAFA, it pointed out that only 10 out of the 21 lorries managed to enter the territory on account of the restrictions imposed by the Israeli occupying authorities. This came as the Israeli army pursued its bombardment of the Gaza Strip, killing over 30 Palestinians for the last 24 hours, so 48 hours. Palestinian sources said that 193 others were wounded in the Israeli attacks that targeted the central and southern parts of the territory. And the head of the Arab and Islamic relations of the Palestine-Hamas movement, Oussama Hamdan, has stressed here in Algiers that Algeria's support for the Palestinian cause in international fora had a major impact on the resistance of the Palestinian people to the Israeli occupation. Mariam Bershi has more again.
Addressing a meeting organized by the Movement of the Society for Peace, MSP, the head of the Arab and Islamic relations of the Palestinian-Hamas movement, Mr. Oussama Hamdan, praised Algeria's position at the Security Council, which had been emphasized on several occasions by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. He said that Algeria's support for the Palestinian people, which went through the struggle of liberation and resistance itself, was a victory of conscience, emphasizing that the path of resistance is the only one that leads to the liberation of the land and the establishment of the Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital. He added that Algeria's support for the Palestinian cause shatters the Israelis' occupation's narrative that the Palestinian people are fighting alone on the ground. Regarding the negotiations, Mr. Hamdan reiterated the movement's commitment that any agreement must lead to clear points, notably a definitive end to the Israeli aggression, the complete withdrawal from Gaza, humanitarian aid and reconstruction without any obstacles.
And the humanitarian coordinator in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, Bruno Le Marquis, has expressed his deep concern at the continuing deterioration of the humanitarian situation in the eastern province of North Kivu. He warned that since January 1st, 2025, more than 100,000 people have been displaced in the Maïsi territory of North Kivu as a result of ongoing clashes between the rebels of the March 23 movement, M23, and the Congolese army. According to Mr. Le Marquis, more than 2.8 million people are currently displaced in North Kivu, more than a third of the province's population, with women and children being the main victims of the conflict. He added that in 2024, 9 humanitarian workers were killed and there were more than 400 incidents directly targeting humanitarian actors and their operations in the DRC, calling on all the parties to work towards an immediate de-escalation of hostilities. And with this last piece of news, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now to our weekly program starting with a special program devoted to the Yenayer event, which is celebrated today. It will be followed by another program devoted to the province or the southern province of Timimun, where the kickoff of the Yenayer festivities was given. Wish you a good listening, and we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you.